Damn Conwin, last week we asked him to come on early because of Joey. And what did you say to Joey? Did you tell him he was infringing on your territory?
I told him he won a top 25 road game finally. So now he's big time and he can infringe on other people's time slots.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, that's awesome. Sam, your thoughts. What's the biggest game in the Big 12, in your opinion, this week?
I think it's Texas Tech at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an argument for Iowa State and Cincinnati this week, but Tech and Houston, the two undefeated teams, and another test for Texas Tech. They went on the road against Utah, had some mistakes, but passed the test and won in a tough road environment. This is not going to be as tough an environment, certainly, and maybe not as dynamic a quarterback. But Willie Fritz coaches a tough football team, and he coaches winning football. And Houston, even though they had a little bit of a rough start and rough go until late in that game against Oregon State, they're an undefeated football team, and that place is going to be packed on Saturday, and it's going to be a really good crowd. I'm sure there will be some Red Raiders mixed in there as well, but it's another test, and it's a chance for, especially after the off week, for Tech to prove that it can stay consistent. Because if they are going to win a Big 12 title, or if they're going to be a college football playoff contender, you've got to go take care of business in games like this.
Oklahoma State and Arkansas both looking for coaches. You wrote the column this week, Sam, about, really where they're probably going to go fishing first is in the state of Texas, whether it's Eric Morris, who we just had on the show before you, or Rhett Lashley at Arkansas. Arkansas is a uniquely complex situation if they do want Rhett Lashley because of SMU and how much money they do have. Oklahoma State, though, is as wide open a search as I can possibly imagine, especially given that any of those coaches like Traylor or Morris or G.J. Kinney would fit.
Yeah, you think about the archetypes in a coaching search. You have the alum that the fans would love and would get everybody charged up, which would be your Zach Robinson in Atlanta. Or you have your hot, trendy G5 head coach, which would be your G.J. Kinney, your Eric Morris, maybe your Jeff Traylor, not as young as those two, but certainly a trendy name. You have your established Power 4 coordinators, the guys like Will Stein who are out there. The other G5 coach I forgot to mention, Alec Galesh, a guy who's been there at Oklahoma State before. You have all types of guys that you typically see that fit all these categories for Oklahoma State. I think, in my opinion, the best move for Oklahoma State is to dip back into the state of Texas, because I think it opens the door back for them to recruit the state of Texas. Because I believe early in Mike Gundy's tenure, when they were really good, one of the things that they were really good at was finding underrated Texas talent and developing those guys as stars. And not always underrated. I mean, Des Bryant was a star when he came out, and they ended up landing him and getting him into school, and obviously went on to a great career. But there's a laundry list of guys who they got out of this state that turned into really good players for them. And I think they've gotten away from that in the last few years. I talked to a lot of personnel directors and coaches down here who told me they hadn't really seen Oklahoma State recruit as hard in the state of Texas. Not to say they're not getting guys, but they have not been as competitive for the top Texas talent as they had been early in Gundy's tenure. I think that's something you got to fix if you're going to get that program back up right.
That's a really interesting point. I can vouch for that. Doing the Earl Campbell Award stuff every week, Oklahoma State's, they had Tylen Wallace there for a little while, but like compared to the Kendall Hunters and the Brandon Pettigrews and the Des Bryants, like they used to feast on Texas guys at the skill spots.
You're right.
So yeah, you make a great point right there. We're sitting here talking to Eric Morris, and Sam, I think you need to start planting the seeds for the book to write with him one day, just the Quarterback Whisperer book, because I don't know if it gets any better than discovering and helping develop and land Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, John Mateer, Patrick Mahomes, and now they got this freshman Drew Mestamaker, who's his own fun story out there in Denton. So, yeah, man, just an idea, just throwing that out there for you.
Yeah, the thing is it's not like, okay, Cliff Kingsbury, who was a really good quarterback evaluator, he found some underrated guys, certainly, but he found also guys that had real talent, 3-star guys that recruiters identified, that we had offers elsewhere. You know, Patrick Mahomes was a guy, obviously, who was also a baseball player. He was the son of a baseball player, and you watched him play, and you could see some of the talent. It's much harder to do, in my opinion, what Eric Morris has done, which is find a guy like a Cam Ward who played in a wing T offense, and you've got to project those skills if they're going to fit your offense. To find a John Mateer whose only offers were FCS offers, and to trust and say, you know what, this guy's good enough, let's go get him. Or to get a Drew Messamaker, I don't even know. This is something I need to talk to Eric about when I go up to see him in the next week or two. How the hell did you find a guy who hadn't been starting high school games? Like, how does that work? You know, I know that we know the Kyle Trask story at Manville, but Kyle Trask split time with De'Aaron King. And Drew Messamaker, I need to dig into more of his story and see how much time he actually played. But how do you find guys like that? Is it the camp circuit? Is it somebody recommends them from a coach? Like it takes some real work, and more importantly, it takes real guts and real trust, because you guys know this. When coaches recruit somebody, one of the first questions they ask is who has offered him. And if somebody that they respect has offered him, they're more likely to chase him. If nobody that they respect or nobody that they know has offered him, it seems a little risky. And it's like, well, do we want to stick our neck out and offer this guy? So it takes real guts to offer guys that nobody else will. And Eric Morris has done that.
Yeah, they say they don't look at the stars, but they want to know who's been offering a player. Yeah, and sometimes maybe nobody, and you still end up with a gem like they seem to have right now with Messamaker. Sam, when it comes to A&M as Mississippi State coming up this week at College Station, Jeff Levy's done a really good job from the first start, and then they've turned the corner now. How much, we don't know, because they just lost that heartbreaker to Tennessee. What A&M seems to be just kind of chopping wood. That's Mike Elko's way. Is that how you feel he's been able to kind of make sure they're not too up or too down?
Yeah, I think they've brought the kind of approach that you expected Mike Elko to bring when he got hired. They've been pretty disciplined. Well, exceptional last week with the penalties. That was a little bit uncharacteristic. But when I say discipline, I don't mean on the field. I mean off the field. I mean in terms of organization, accountability within the program. You don't have a lot of headlines about stuff that's going on down there, which I think you couldn't say that about his predecessor. I think there was a lot more coming out of that building when Jimbo Fisher was there. So Elko's restored some order in that sense. The other thing that's been really impressive is that he flipped that roster really quickly. I was looking over it yesterday, and of the 85 scholarship guys on the roster, 61 on the current roster have been signed by Mike Elko. So they pretty quickly were able to backfill the losses from that disastrous 2022 class, because out of 30 high school signees, 24 of them aren't on campus anymore. So you only got 6 of those guys left. That should be your senior and your redshirt, your senior or your redshirt junior class right now. Most of those guys are gone. So they did a really good job of backfilling the portal to restock that roster. And they did use and leverage some of the guys that stayed, the Le'Veon Mosses, the Marcel Reeds, and develop some of these guys, the offensive linemen. Most of those false offensive linemen were recruited by the previous staff, and they've done a really good job of leveraging that talent with the new talent that they brought in through the portal, high school guys they've signed, and address their needs in a big way. Like, this is a team, Mario Craver, who was at Mississippi State last year, is one of the big breakout stories of the year, because they identified him at that position, a position of need. They really needed a playmaker receiver. They went and got him in Casey Concepcion, and now you have one of the more explosive pass games in the country. And I think their systematic, disciplined approach to everything has really translated into a really good team. And I think if they win this game against Mississippi State on Saturday, I think we really do have to consider them a real deal college football playoff contender.
Sam, Texas and Florida this week. Arch Manning looked like he broke out of his doldrums. It was Sam Houston State, though. For everything that's gone wrong for Florida, their defense is really good. I mean, they don't let you score a lot of points. Ron Roberts is doing an amazing job there. Billy Napier is probably on his way out, but this is probably not the best defense, even though Texas likely wins this game, to get right on offense, is it?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a challenge, because I think Ron Roberts is a salty veteran defensive coordinator, and if I know him, especially with this situation with an Arch Manning who his confidence has been up and down, I think he really got it back against Sam Houston. But this is a different atmosphere in the Swamp, and if you're Ron Roberts, you probably want to heat Arch Manning up, and you want to see Kenny handle it, because the thing that I've seen with Arch is that when he's on and things are right, it looks good. Last year, there was a play against Mississippi State where he stood in there and took a monster hit and delivered a dime about 45 yards downfield to DeAndre Moore. He did that again against Sam Houston. But then there are other times where he doesn't seem right, where the mechanics are off, the happy feet are there. Maybe he's holding the ball too long. He's not seeing the field well. And if you're Ron Roberts, I think you want to heat up Arch Manning and bring a lot of pressure early and test and see, okay, what are we going to get today? And make him beat you, because Texas, Texas really has been a team that has beaten teams in the last couple of years with their defense and a really good running game. And if you can heat up Arch Manning and make them a little bit one-dimensional and get him a little nervous, then I think you have something to work with. But I still think overall this Texas team is more talented. I agree with you. I think they're going to go in there and win. And if I had to put my bet on it, I think the fact that Arch got that out of his system and started to feel like he got his confidence back, granted it was against Sam Houston, I think if he can get off to a quick start on Saturday and gain his confidence early in the first couple of drives, I think you could see them take control of that game really quickly.
How did you evaluate the TCU loss to Arizona State? Highly competitive game, had a chance to win there at the end, maybe should have won if a couple things go differently. But, Sam, they seem really one-dimensional, and they don't have a great line, so that leads into being one-dimensional on offense at least. How do you feel about the Frogs coming out of that game?
I was really shocked. I thought they were going to go in there, and what I saw at the start of that game was what I expected, and then what I saw in the second half was a complete opposite. You saw a team that could not run the football. You saw a team that did not take care of the football, and that to me was really shocking, because I thought they had been pretty good throughout the first part of their schedule, really playing good, sound football, clean football, and being a versatile offense. And, certainly having some personal losses, in the backfield doesn't help that. But they, to me, still have a good enough roster to not be in a situation where you have to be so one-dimensional. And then Josh Hoover, who I think is one of the best pure passers in the country, just made some really tough decisions that I think he'd like to have back. And that certainly that last throw was one of them. But what's key for TCU is bouncing back from that. Can you respond from that? Because you know what, you're going to lose Big 12 games. That's just the life in this conference, and losing at Arizona State is not the end of the world. But that's one where TCU, I'm sure, probably after that one looked in the mirror, it's like, man, we let that one get away, because that was a game they probably should have won.
Sam Conn with us on Thursdays at 3:30 on 365 Sports. What are your thoughts about the young man at Ole Miss that's putting on Chambliss, the quarterback, and what he's meant? He looks like he's been playing at that level. Great player at a national championship, Ferris State, great program in Division II, and what you saw from him last weekend.
Yeah, it's been a really tremendous story, and what a revelation he has been this year. He was one, when they took him in the portal this offseason, I was really interested, just kind of looked around. I was like, yeah, how do you find a guy like this? And kudos to their scouting staff, their personnel staff, for being able to find a guy like that, because they knew with a young quarterback in Austin Simmons, a first-time starter, you want some depth and you want a guy who has some real snaps. And it's so hard to find that now in this era, because the starter depart mentality that you have at quarterback. If a guy's not starting, he's going to move on. So you can't keep a veteran 2, 3, 4 years on your roster waiting for an opportunity. So the other way to find it is to find a transfer from a lower level, whether you're a power forward getting a G5 or an FCS, or in this case, a Division II transfer, who says, hey, you know what? Here's an opportunity to prove myself. He had already won at the highest level in Division II and accomplished a lot there. And it was a chance to say, hey, let me go test and see what I can do at the next level. Even if he had been a backup, I don't know what he got paid. I'm sure he got paid well. But you get a chance to get some money in your pocket, and also have a chance to test yourself against some good competition in case injury happens. And guess what? Injury happened. And everybody you talk to around that program really loves him. Like, they love that kid. They love his approach. They love the way he approached everything this offseason. And when his opportunity came, he took full advantage of it. And he's been so much fun to watch, and really, to me, has given a new dimension to that offense. I think he's a little bit more dynamic of an athlete on the ground than certainly Austin Simmons was. And I've been having a lot of fun watching him. I'm intrigued to see how far he can take this.
Sam, great to see you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.